All right, good Monday afternoon, everyone. Thanks for stopping by for a check of your forecast. Hope everyone's having an enjoyable afternoon. It is November 10th, year of our Lord 2025. It is 4 o'clock here in Amarillo. We're going to be breaking down your forecast for the rest of this week. If you got any plans for Veterans Day tomorrow, I'd keep them. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful day. There are some big changes, though, that are starting to come into view of our 7-day tracker. And so those are some things that we'll also break down. It's going to be hot this week from a November standpoint, but there are going to be some big changes coming by this weekend and especially by the beginning of next week. So that'll, I think, be the biggest topic of interest for most of us. But we're taking a view of just the lower 48 right now. You can see again, there's that big trough, lots of lake effect snow there in the Great Lakes region. Looks like it's probably snowing there around South Bend or just east of South Bend, the west side of the mitten there in Michigan, getting some lake effect snow. Probably seeing some snow there in Buffalo, it looks like, and some snow in portions of the Appalachian mountain ranges as well, and the Smoky Mountains even there in Tennessee, getting some wintry weather. We are way too far away from the trough to see any kind of active precipitation. We're on the wrong side of it as well in that north and northwest flow. So just some cold air advection for us, clear skies, maybe a few high cirrus clouds. Aside from that, it is a beautiful afternoon out there. You can see there's a live look outside down in Paladero Canyon State Park. Looks like maybe just a few of those high cirrus clouds in view there. Temperatures are in the 60s for most of us, which is not far from average. Our normal high is 64. We're 2 degrees above that currently here at the airport, and then 68 in Dalhart, 66 in Clovis, and 59, a bit colder there in Shamrock. Winds have turned to the south. That's going to bring in some what we call warm air advection. That's going to help us heat up as we move into your Veterans Day. So tomorrow, highs are forecast to actually climb into the 70s pretty much area wide. We may have a few locations get into the lower 80s in the southeast off the Cap Rock, maybe Portales climbing to 80 degrees as well. Overall, though, most of us are in those mid 70s for tomorrow's high temperatures. So if you've got plans to go to maybe some of those parades, I definitely keep them. Maybe a light jacket necessary in the morning. Otherwise, it should shape out to be a really nice afternoon. So let's go ahead and just kind of blast through the next 2 days real quick. There's not a whole lot to talk about weather-wise through the middle of this week. Temperatures just going to run above average. Should see a couple of cold fronts, very subtle ones come through. One on Tuesday night. That one's going to drop our temperatures probably 5 to 8 degrees. So upper 60s, low 70s for Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon, I should say. And then we just have that south wind come back into play. And we're back into the 70s and 80s for Thursday and Friday. Now, here's the thing that we're watching most closely. And models are surprisingly in very good agreement on the track and the timing of this storm system. So it's, again, starting to build in some confidence that this might have or hold some validity. That, maybe this is going to take a fairly decent track for us to have a chance for some precipitation. But this is a cutoff low. These cutoff lows are notorious hard to forecast on their track. So again, there is still some reservations on, jumping on to the gun about saying, yeah, we're going to see rainfall this weekend. I don't necessarily think that is a guarantee, but it's definitely opened that door, and that possibility is very much on the table at this point in time. But this cutoff low, models are in very good agreement on the track and the placement. So as far as what we're looking at from a mid-range model standpoint, they think that there's a fair shot above 40% for us to probably see some moisture heading into Sunday and or Monday, just depending on the exact track of this low. This is going to sweep up into the northern plains. Notice this next extension of the trough out here in the British Columbia North Pacific. Models also have this thing sweeping into the desert southwest as well. So we may not be done with the active weather pattern after this first system comes through. I'm going to go ahead and just drag over a couple of things that we want to look at. These are what we call meteograms. This is just the high lows from one set model output for Amarillo. You can see temperatures pretty warm here in the next 4 to 5 days. And notice there's that very noticeable drop off in the second half of that model run. And if we take a look at some other ones, you can see we still see kind of that same trend or same pattern. Hot above average, I'd say, not hot necessarily, but hot for November. 70s and 80s here for the next 5 days or so. And then we kind of take that step down process into the 50s and 60s over the weekend. And we just kind of hang around the 40s and 50s for the most part for the better part of 7 to 10 days. And then this is another model. Doesn't quite run out as far. This is just the Canadian. You can see above average temperatures there. And then we just really see this drastic drop off down here. So there's pretty good consensus that as we move into next week, between that 16th and about the 20th of November, that we're going to see some changes here to our overall weather pattern. Now, this is some ensemble member views of precipitation through a 24-hour period. This is the European AI forecast system. There's two windows that we're watching. This one here over the weekend, it doesn't have a very good opportunity for some precipitation with that stuff this weekend, but notice that second system. There is actually, honestly, a lot of agreement in the AI forecast system from the Euro that we could see some precipitation in a 24-hour window with that second trough that swings through as we get towards the end of the month, like the 20th through the 22nd. Not all of them, you can see a couple of them are dry in here, so it's not a complete consensus, but I would say a large majority of these, around 75 to 80% of them, would suggest that we could see some precipitation towards the end of the month. Now, this is the standard European ensemble run. It's a little bit more boastful about that first system. About 50% of the model runs have us getting some form of precipitation. Some of these on the light amount of, just a couple tenths of an inch of precipitation. But there are a couple of outlier model runs in here where we're talking about maybe 1 to maybe even an inch and a half of precipitation. And then you've got that second system where there's fairly good agreement as well. And then looking at the Canadian or the GFS, again, not great agreement, but probably about a 30 or 40% outlook that we could see some measurable precipitation from the first system, and similar situation there for the second one. So that's what we're just kind of watching at this point in time. I think the favorite precipitation type with this next outlook through the weekend heavily leans towards it being just a rain event. We don't really think it's going to be any kind of winter weather, at least not here in the panhandles. Now, you get up into the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, certainly probably will see some snow up there with this system as it comes through this weekend. But I just think our temperatures are going to be marginally too warm for any kind of winter weather activity. If we do get kind of close to that borderline number of 32 to 35 degrees, it would be in places like Union County, I think, if we're going to see any kind of snowfall with that one. But this predominantly looks like a rain event for us. So I wouldn't worry too much about winter weather hazards. If things change, we'll let you know. But right now, the general consensus is going to be for a colder rain event. Temperatures, again, in that 16th through the 20th window, probably leaning just slightly towards being warmer than normal. And here's your averages. Average high is 62, average low of 34. So both of those are above freezing. The story, again, the big takeaway here is models are coming into a better consensus that the precipitation chances are climbing, and that is the trend at this point in time. So that's something to look forward to. We've been stuck in this very warm, very dry pattern for the better part of October and November. It has been exceptionally dry in some cases, but this is the 7-day tracker. We've bumped you up to a 40% chance for rain on Sunday. High kind of chilly, 54 degrees, and then 56 there on Monday. And before I let you go, again, the rain, some of you guys who think it's a bad thing, it's not. We have been very, very dry through the last 30 days. There are a couple of spot exceptions. Guyman seeing about 130% of their 30-day precipitation, a little bit above normal there in Canadian, kind of near normal here in Amarillo. That's just due to some of those isolated showers that we had in a finite spot. If you look at the whole map as a whole, there's a lot of yellow and a lot of orange and deep orange colors there. Tulia seeing 7% of the precipitation average through the last 30 days. It's been extremely dry. We need the moisture. This is something to look forward to. If things trend a little bit better towards maybe some higher amounts, certainly not going to complain about that either. I wouldn't get your hopes up for like a massive rain event, but the trend is to be above normal, or at least favored to be above normal in that 5-day window, and normal's about 0.2 of an inch of precipitation. So kind of the threshold we're looking at right now, at least a 1/4 inch or 2 to 3/10 of an inch of precipitation when you're talking about the CPC outlook. So this is that map right here, 1/1500 of an inch, excuse me, there for your 5-day stretch. So that's a pretty low bar to get past, but that's kind of the threshold that we utilize just because that's the climatological norm. That's all I got for you guys. Again, we'll continue to monitor that system over the weekend. As we get closer, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we'll probably start talking about those possible rain amounts should the trend stay on track with what we're seeing today. Don't get your hopes up. It's promising, but it is something that we'll have to continue to monitor. Thank you so much for stopping by. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Don't forget to hit